My name is Alex Homer. I have the pleasure of being your host today. It's great to be here. I am a customer success strategic program lead with Wrike. And we've got Andrei Nikitin, who is facilitating this session today. He's a strategic customer success manager based out of NORAM. I'll hand over to him shortly to make sure he gets himself a proper introduction. But of course, the session today that we've got is on staying up to date with the Wrike Mobile App, seeing who this could benefit, what sort of functionality is available to you, and how you take advantage of it. Now, my apologies. Before I hand it over to there, however, I wanted to take a moment here to spend a moment with Cassandra Taggart, who's president and owner of Real Property Management, who's utilizing functionality from Wrike and the Wrike Mobile App, of course, because they're out on site with customers. And some of the challenges that they had when they're coming on board was this notion of lack of consistency in their process, inefficient comms and collaboration, and operational inefficiencies and high workload. So they'd had solutions from Wrike utilizing the project templates and checklists, real-time collaboration with communication, like the Wrike mobile app, and dashboards and reporting with transparent processes. They saw themselves with 2 times revenue growth. They've achieved operational efficiency and increased capacity and enhanced transparency and accountability. We've noted from Cassandra saying, if it wasn't for Wrike that we started 2 years ago, I wouldn't be able to take on that business. I literally did 116% growth in 1 year. That's an incredible number. We're so glad that likes of Cassandra are kind of getting to those kinds of figures. We'd like to know how they're doing it, however, and this is where I tend to hand it over to Andrei Nikitin to be able to do that for us. But before I officially hand it over to Andrei, there's one more little thing that I do want to do here. So my apologies for having a little bit of a blooper moment here. I was hoping to actually have on the screen a link to being able to download the app. So while that's happening, I'll stop sharing. I'll hand it over to you, Andrei, and I'll put up a link for folks to be able to download and use the app as well.
Perfect. Thank you, Alex. Hope everyone can see me well and hear me well. And in a second, I'll be sharing my screen here. Alex, if you could give me a thumbs up, if you could see my presentation on the left and my mirrored mobile device on the right-hand side. Perfect. Looks like everything is working just as planned. And yeah, I'm happy to welcome everyone on this webinar today. Basically, what I want to go over is the mobile application for Wrike. What are best use cases for that? How it can help in your day-to-day life? And I'll touch on what are the groups of users we believe could benefit the most out of this application and why. And what I want to start with really, and before we even go into the very first topic, which is keeping on top of updates, I just want you to, like, if you haven't worked with the application before, I just want to open it and very quickly go through some of the navigation so that you have some level of familiarity with the application. It obviously looks a little bit different from what you could see on the web, and some of that has to do with the guidelines of the design of these mobile applications, right? So they have to conform to certain standards. So as far as navigation goes, right, you have this navigation panel at the bottom where you can click on different things to get access. For example, you start with the inbox to catch up on some of the incoming updates and comments and everything. And then from there, you could switch to, for example, search and other things. But the best thing about the app is the fact that you can actually customize this for yourself. So if I click the button more in the top, in the bottom right-hand corner, you can then navigate to some of the other tools that are available or to the settings. And if you go to the settings, and then in there, you could obviously customize this application a little bit. If we switch to, let's say, appearance and navigation, and then bottom shortcut panel, you could see how we can easily change what are the things that are available in that bottom panel. So if you feel more strongly about some of these items, for example, you're checking on reports a lot, or you want a quick access to timesheets or dashboards or my to-do, you could just go ahead and let's say we're gonna replace search with my to-do now. So you could do it like that. And if we go back, you could see now we have my to-do here at the bottom instead of search, which is pretty awesome, right? So that is the navigation covered.
Andre,
And yeah,
sorry to interrupt there. Got a question here quite early in the piece. Is it possible to kind of reopen back to that kind of page? Or, I mean,
um,
would that be a great way potentially of pinning your most important items, would you say?
pinning the most important item. Well, there is a pinned area as you have in the web version of the application. I believe if you close the app completely and then reopen, it will try to put you to the like default screen, which is inbox. However, if you just swipe the app and then reopen, it will sort of keep you where you used to be, right? So again, that has to do with the the amount of operating memory that you have on your device. So it may sometimes just offload it, and when you get back, it will by default show you the inbox. But yeah, that's how it goes.
That was perfect. Thanks, Andre.
Of course. Right, let's jump into the first topic, which is keeping on top of updates, right? So as part of this, we'll cover push notifications, the inbox, and the highlights that you can find in the inbox. And as you can see right now on my screen, I have the inbox open, right? So the way you would typically interact with that is, let's say I'm going to receive a notification here in just a second about the basically new requests coming in. Yeah, so you could see that. And if so right now I don't have that really on my in my notification area just because I had the app open. But if I didn't, you would be able to basically receive this as a notification. And in iOS, for example, in particular, and I've been using iOS for many years now, and I'm most familiar with that ecosystem as opposed to Android, for example. But I know I can make notifications appear like with a buzz, with a vibration, and a sound, and yeah, that way I can stay updated about anything basically that is going on, right? So if I receive any notification, any ad mention, something happens on a project that I follow, it will be on top of my inbox, and I can be absolutely confident in that, right? And then once I receive notification to my notification screen, I can click on that. That goes directly to the to that item that I received notification about. Or if I happen to open this inbox here within the app itself, and I click on that, obviously, again, that brings me directly to that item that I received the notification about. So that's how you can interact with those. One thing I wanted to mention here, not only we have this just a running list of all notifications, but also some highlights. And I just clicked on the, so if we get back to the inbox, that's the top right-hand corner, this little light bulb here that I'm clicking on. And that gives me access to highlights. And what highlights are basically just a bit of a summary of everything that's going on with work that you're following or assigned to, right? So that gives you information about projects that are potentially at risk for one reason or another, tasks that are overdue, things that are being close to their deadlines, and tasks that are in general just might be idling, right? And that summary is really helpful because if you are a project manager, that gives you an insight into just in general what's going on, right? So with that being said, let's move on to actually getting things done using the app. So one of the obvious things that any individual contributor or manager wants to do is checking on the to-do list. And we've just added the to-do list onto the bottom navigation area. So we could click there. And from there, we can navigate to some of the items that are assigned to us. And you could see those are neatly grouped into overdue, today, due today, due next week. And from here, we can make a decision. Okay, so what are the things that we absolutely need to keep track of today, things that we need to complete, get done, by the end of the day. And yeah, if we're done with those, we can obviously move forward with some of the items that are assigned to us next week. And navigating to some of these items is just as simple as just clicking at them here in the list, and it directly brings us to those items. And let's say let's open something else here. I'm actually going to be needing that task that I just clicked on. So let's say this guy right here. If let's say we are traveling, or maybe we're on site with a customer, right? And maybe we don't have access to our laptop for whatever reason, but we do need to keep our manager or leadership updated on what's going on. So what I could do here is, if I completed this item, I can just go ahead and change the status, as easy as that. And one more thing that I want to mention, well, obviously I can write a comment, but we'll mention comments in just a quick second here in the next section. But yeah, you can, in general, interact with your work in the same way that you could do that on the desktop. So you could change the description, you can write comments, you can change statuses, you can upload files, and you can change fields. Approvals, we're going to touch on. You could see the approvals here on my screen. But something else you could do is you can track time. So you could start a timer here just directly from the task. And once let's say once we're done with that, we can actually, okay, so let's say we worked 30 minutes on this particular task. We want to submit this timesheet for today. We're going to choose the categories. So that was, for example, time spent on scoping. And if there is any comment that we wish to leave there, we could do so. And we could click save. And boom, we just added the time tracked onto this particular task, which is pretty awesome.
Andre,
One more, yeah, go ahead.
sorry to interrupt you there. Is there any limitation on the type of individual, the type of user that can track time on Wrike?
Type of users that can track time on Wrike. This is something I need to double check. In general, any regular user can absolutely track their time. I believe that collaborators
Regular
can also
users.
do that.
Okay. So regular user. So it's got to be a licensed regular user, if I remember correctly.
I need to double check, but I believe that collaborators can track their time as well, but that needs to be checked offline.
Gotcha. Thanks, Andre.
Of course. While on the topic of tracking time, we actually do have a dedicated timesheet available through the app as well, at least on iOS. If I jump into that from my menu of options here, you could see on the timesheet I get a running list of tasks for a given time period. In this case, this is my current week of work. And this is the task that is assigned to me. So directly from there, I can add the entry and do basically the very same thing that I did earlier, but without having to start or stop the timer. I can just directly add a time entry, which is really cool. So all of that obviously would be helpful for individual contributors who are working on certain tasks while being on site with the client or being, well, let's say in the fields, right? Because a lot of companies whose users are working in the fields are actually using Wrike. So they're using Wrike on their phones. They're using Wrike on their tablets. So that's a very common use case for that. But let's move forward. Because we have also a lot of functionality that is catering to the managers of work, to the individuals who are going to be creating assignments for their teams, right? So let's talk about that. First and foremost, I want to mention how to submit requests using the mobile app, right? And you're probably all familiar with the request form functionality that we've got. And request forms are also available on the mobile. So if I have this request available at the bottom for me, for quick access. And from here, I can get access to all of the requests that are available to me in my Wrike account. And what I'm going to do right now is select the topmost option here and submit a brief for the new campaign. So I already took a liberty of pre-filling some of that, just not to waste time. So we're going to be submitting a holiday sale campaign with the goal of maximizing sales and awareness. And we're just going to click the submit button. If you notice, we could have even attached a certain file to that. And so once we did that, that will follow your typical rules. Let's say if you have your request form create work in a certain area of the workspace, that's obviously going to be respected. If you have any automations that are intended to notify users about new work coming in, obviously, again, that's going to happen. It doesn't matter whether you submit the form on the mobile or through the web. It's going to work exactly the same way, right? And well, let's say we just put in a new request, and again, the use case for that could be you're on site with a client, right? And you just don't have your laptop at your disposal. Or let's say it's, you discharged it and you only have your phone to submit a request, but the request needs to be submitted really quickly. So we could use the mobile app for that. Now that we've done that, we want to make sure that the team is aware about the new request coming in, right? Because this one is kind of important. So you sort of want a quick action from your team here. So what you could do in order to communicate the importance to your team, you could basically use the comment box here. You can add mention individuals or groups. Well, let's say I think I have the creative group here available, and that's a user group that I created in Wrike earlier, right? So I cannot mention the entire group, and I also cannot mention individual people here. And by doing that, I want to ensure that they receive a notification, right? So I'm going to type in, please prioritize, right? And I'm going to send that, and that will bring their attention to this particular campaign that I just submitted. So you can use this application for communicating with your individual contributors, or if you are NIC, you can communicate with your manager, and that way is very useful. So what I just realized I've forgotten to do is to assign someone to this work that I just submitted. So because this is a project, it has the box for the owner here at the top. If that was a task, there would be an assignee box there. So I'm going to select this one person here and click Save. And that way, we just assign that work, and we can also schedule that too. So we can put the schedule right here. So I'm going to be selecting these final 2 weeks of the year and going to click Save. And just like that, we've created the work through the request form. We assigned users, we scheduled that work, and we've communicated the priority of this work to our team through the comment or mention. Alex, do we have any
Andrew,
questions on that part?
yeah, just a quick question. So, the person that submit that will also get a notification that they've had that come through if they've
Can we?
been assigned to it, that is. So the person that's been assigned to that, if they're on their mobile app, will get a notification of that being the
Absolutely,
case.
absolutely, and that's my like I really enjoyed the app for that specific reason. It keeps me updated at all times. If something gets assigned to me, if I need to approve of something, I will receive notification every single time, which is really, really useful.
Awesome. And I did a little quick deep dive, by the way, with regards to the collaborators piece, letting you know that actually collaborators are one of the few users that can't track time. So just wanted to make sure folks are aware.
Perfect. Thanks for checking, Alex.
No
All
problem.
right.
Thanks for the day.
Are we good to move forward?
Yes, indeed. And by the way, for anybody in the room, please keep submitting your questions. Thanks,
Absolutely.
Andre.
Please do. Yeah, we have a few more topics to cover. The next one I want to go over is reviewing and monitoring, right? Um, we intend this application to be used by not only individual contributors and managers, but also the leadership, if they would be interested in that. So that could be your executive team. And by doing that, they can, well, first and foremost, check on some dashboards and reports. And second, they can also look into certain approvals that could be assigned to them, right? So let's go over reports, for example, here. What I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna open more, and from there I can jump into reports. And in the report section right here, I have this quick portfolio report. Let's see if that's the one I'm interested in. Oh yeah, basically what it does right now, this report in particular, it groups the work by individual clients. So I might wanna, let's say again, I'm on site with a particular client of ours, and I wanna see what's going on with all of the tasks that we promised to deliver to that client. Right, so I could see there is a number of them that are completed. There is one that's not started yet, and there is one that is on track, right? And I can go through basically the statuses of that. I could see the finish dates, basically anything that was added, any fields that were added onto this report previously, I can revisit, right? So that is very, very useful. And the best part is that obviously all of the data is up to date. So if the individual contributors have updated all the information in the system, then you will absolutely be able to see that. And there is also this button in the top right-hand corner to refresh the data. If you know there were some changes that came through seconds ago, you could quickly update that, and that way you'll stay up to date with all of the changes. At this time, you cannot create a new report from the app, so you kind of have to rely on everything that was created for you earlier. But typically that's how it will go anyway. So if you do wanna sort of take a look at some of the items, let's say not through a report but through a table view, actually this is something you can absolutely do, and you can use, for example, a search to look up a certain number of tasks, or like a certain project, and through that you could open a table view, which is, by the way, one of the recent additions. We didn't have that before, and through that table view you could basically see any project, right? So you don't have to spend time initially to set that up. Do you have a question,
Andre,
Alex?
I do. How do we get access to things like the Gantt chart view? Is that possible?
Oh yeah, really good
Or are you
question.
coming or are you coming up to that? And my apologies if you are.
No, that's all right. What I want to do here is basically I want to go into spaces, right? So let's say there is a certain area of work that I want to take a quick look over. And I'm going to go here into my campaign management section. And notice as soon as I get to this folder structure, and here I have, let's say, well, I'm going to click into launch a campaign, right? Because there I have some, real actual work going on. So I have this, active campaigns, completed campaigns, and campaign requests. And notice that at the very top, I have this drop down through which I can select how exactly am I going to looking into this particular area of work, right? So I could choose between the list view, right? In which case it will just, basically show me a list, or I can choose a table or a Gantt chart. So if we click into table, that's gonna obviously look like a table, right? And it's gonna keep the hierarchy of items, which is really, really useful. Also from there, you can jump into any of the item and preview some of the fields. And then if you want to take a look at everything through a timeline, you could switch to a Gantt chart, and that way you could get access to all of the timelines of the set projects and tasks, which is really useful.
Very handy way of being able to keep track or stay on top of project deliveries and what you might expect, and the status, of course, of each of those various tasks. I've got a few
Absolutely.
customers, I think, that have been I use the term hanging for this, kind of just waiting for this particular bit of functionality for Gantt charts to be able to use it out on site. And if you could imagine you're out on site and you're running a project, when could you expect to have certain things to be delivered by? So being able to display that potentially with your customers, I imagine would be pretty useful. Hey,
Right on. All right, I want to be mindful of our time because we're getting to the end of the session here, and I have a few more tricks to show. One more thing that is we believe super useful while on the go is being able to both launch approvals and run these approvals, right? So if you are assigned to an approval and you need to take a look at something, you could do that. So what I'll do in a second here, notice I just received this inbox notification with the new project proposal that they're asking me to review. So I could jump into that, and here, well, actually, I forgot to start the actual approval, so let me quickly do that. So I'm gonna assign that. So I'm doing that in my on my desktop, which you can't see, but basically what I'm trying to accomplish here is to launch the actual approval. So now you could see I have one file pending approval. So I can click here to show the file, and yeah, let's do that. Yeah, so it's just a PDF here that I can, kind of take a look at and see if everything is in place. And if I like everything, I can click approve. If I something I dislike, I can request some changes. In this case, I'm just gonna click approve, and that goes through to the web version or to the desktop, right? And you could see my decision is clearly visible here. And I can even further communicate to the team if I want. Well, they already received this, right? And if you have a workflow automation set up, this will even go to the next status, which is approved in this case. But again, if I want to make sure I communicate with the team, I can just write a quick update here. Please proceed. Yeah, that's it, right? So that's how easy it is to approve files and communicate some of the information. And finally, again, we really don't have time for that at the moment. Just some honorary mentions here. There are a couple of power features that the application has. One of them is being able to scan documents. Basically, what that means is when you create a task through the app, and the way you do that, right? So there's a green plus, which is really familiar. So from here, you could create, let's say, a new task, and then let's say you want to add an attachment, but instead of adding an existing PDF or image, let's say, you can choose to use a document scanner that you can basically, it will open your camera and it will scan whatever document you have in front of you, and it will create a digital version, like a PDF version out of it, which is super useful with a lot of documentation being processed. Then you could use your voice assistant for voice commands, in which case, basically, you could ask, well, again, I'm using iOS here. I can ask Siri to create a new task for me, or a set of tasks, right? And I already mentioned approvals, right? The fact that you can approve certain assets directly from the app. Well, guess what? You can actually start approvals from the app as well, which is also a recent addition, right? This is something that we didn't have before 2023 here. And yeah, basically, here is a quick summary of all of the features that we have, and there's really a lot. And I just want to quickly point out for whom this application will be important. So from the individual contributor standpoint, right, you could check what's on your plate, you can update statuses and schedules and track your time. If you're a manager, you can monitor team progress through table views, reports, and dashboards. You can create, assign, and prioritize work, and you can start approvals and you can complete the set approvals. If you're an executive, you could use the app to collect reports, keep track of key initiatives and projects at risk, and you can communicate updates on strategic priorities. Now, why would you do all of that from the mobile? Obviously, you're either traveling, so you may not have full access to your desktop app, or you might be on site with a customer, or you might be in the fields, like if you're doing some contractor work and you do not have access to your laptop, you either have a phone or you have a tablet, right? So that way you could still access Wrike and input information or check in on some of the updates. So that's why we think this application can be really, really useful for you. Alex, do we have any time for Q&A?
We don't have much time, with any time really, unfortunately, for Q&A. There are a couple of questions that came through that I have already answered. What I might do, if it's okay, Andrei, is take the screen back off you, however, and give you a big wrap. Thank you so very much. Really appreciate you going through that. Also, well impressed by the ability to share your mobile device there at the same time. That was very cool. Thanks for doing that.
Of course.
I wanted to make everyone aware of the fact that there are a bunch of resources available around you as well when it comes to using your mobile app. By the way, also, quick little shout out here with regards to the mobile app, the ability to actually scan or text or take a photo on your phone, post it up to a task, and then get an approval from Wrike on that task is incredibly powerful as having a conversation with the customer who is actually out on site getting prints done. And as it was off the print, they took a photo, posted it up to their team, and got a confirmation of whether or not they wanted to go ahead with it. It's very cool. Now, resources that are available to you. So there is the support team, of course, who are there to answer any questions that you might have with regards to, hey, this was working, it's not for whatever reason now. There's your customer success manager who's there to try and help you ensure that you see value out of the platform on a day-to-day. There's our community forum and, of course, our help page that has an article and everything, just about everything in Wrike. And, of course, the community forum is a great space to share your feedback, suggestions, ideas, or conversations with other folks about how they might be using the Wrike mobile app. There's Wrike Discover, of course, which I'm hoping you know about because it's probably how you got here to this particular session. And of course, account managers who act as conduit between just about everybody that sits within Wrike as well. And of course, they give us the ability or access to full access of the professional services team. So if you're looking for somebody to help you, guide you through setting up the platform, getting you the best practices, understand how to utilize and get the best out of the solution, get in touch with our account management team or our support team who will be able to put you in touch with our professional services. And of course, the likes of Andrei and folks that have the same sorts of skills as Andrei to be able to kind of utilize and get you through the solution. Andrei, is there anything else that you can think of that I'm missing here? Is there anything else that you think I might need to highlight or mention?
I think we're good here.
Andrei, again, once big thank you to you and to everybody that's come along to the session today. Really appreciate you coming along. I hope you got to understand how to use some of that functionality out of Wrike, the Wrike mobile app, and get to utilize the solution anywhere and everywhere you kind of go. And if you don't want to, that's okay. We appreciate that not everyone wants to get bugged all the time as well. Your time is precious, and so hopefully we're giving some now back to you. Andrei, thanks again.
Take care, everyone. Thank you.